All right, so I am Amy Dahlman and I'm with Dancing Sky Area Agency on Aging, and we cover 21 counties in Northwest and West Central Minnesota. And we do all kinds of awesome things that I think are probably one of the best kept secrets. But we staff the senior linkage line for our area. We have a return to community service. We do all kinds of education and outreach. And if I spent the entire time talking about what we do, we would never get to what we're supposed to talk about today. So instead, I will put our website and our Facebook page in the chat. And please make sure you're following us, sharing us, liking us on Facebook, because we have all kinds of things on Facebook that we do. So I'm going to introduce Stacy and Lauren, and then, like I said, we'll have Stacy get started and Lauren will pop on as she can. So Stacy is the Aging Eyes Coordinator and Senior Counselor for Dodge and Mower counties. She's a certified therapeutic recreation specialist from the University of Iowa, and she's been in the field of therapeutic recreation for 25 years. She's created the SHARE for Courage Kenny Community Center for Vision Loss Resources and the Edina School Age Care Kids Club. She was the director of a special needs program at the Sabas Jewish Community Center. And her motto is, everyone can do something for fun, but we might need to think outside the box. I think that's a really good motto. And then Lauren is a blind rehab specialist with the State Services for the Blind and the Senior Services Unit. She serves 12 counties in West Central Minnesota. She's worked with older adults for 13 years and is often found chatting with them about life experiences and their needs. And if you know Lauren, that's very true. She was a PCA for several years and then worked for a nonprofit in their senior services division before transitioning over to State Services for the Blind in July of 2018. And Lauren believes that the connection with people is most important, and she will never turn down a cup of coffee to get the conversation started. So now that we know who we have talking today, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy. And like I said, Lauren will jump on soon, but in the meantime, Stacy's going to talk more about the Aging Eyes Initiative.
Thank you. I'm going to try and share my screen, and I'll say loosely, try. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So as Amy said, Lauren and I both work for State Services for the Blind, and she's going to kind of give an overview of that. And so I'm going to let her do that, but I'm going to talk about the Aging Eyes Initiative. And so the Aging Eyes program in 2013, we sat with all the leaders that dealt with seniors and vision in the state of Minnesota and said, what are we going to do with these boomers? And so we decided that we would work with community partners, all of you, to help our aging population with vision loss. The initiative started in 2014, but really kind of get going around 2015. And so what I do is I work with community organizations, OTs, PTs, social workers, care coordinators, nurses, resident managers, sales managers, whoever is dealing with seniors, to help them provide equipment and information about seniors and how to adjust to their vision loss. I provide a 3-hour currently Zoom training, but Amy and I were just talking that we're hoping to do some in-person trainings as well. And then I do provide 3 hours of continuing education. The Zoom doesn't take as long, but the in-person will go through some what it's like to actually have a diabetic bleed, or what it's like for cataract. So we'll put on glasses simulators to kind of even look at that. We'll talk about how to be a community partner. Everything we do for Lauren and I is free through the state of Minnesota for State Services for Blind. So you don't pay for anything. Your senior with vision loss doesn't pay for anything. And it's just a nice way to be able to show them that quick magnifier and know that that will help them be able to read your community center calendar or your activity calendar. And then they need more support, then that's where Lauren would come in to help support them. And so it's just a starter kit. It's a black briefcase. They actually call it a mafia case from the old OSI. And it's full of low vision equipment. And after the training, you sign an agreement saying that you'll represent us to the best of your ability and that you'll provide this equipment to seniors right away. And so you're able to show them, to hand them the glasses, things like that. And so that's the most important thing, is that right then and there, while you have them, you're able to provide that. And then you just send me a form, and then I send you back all the equipment again to replenish your kit. So it's a great way to kind of learn more about vision loss. I'll go through all the eye conditions, how it affects people in their daily living. Of course, because I'm a rec therapist, we're going to talk a little about social rec, because can't miss an opportunity for that. And then just how do we go about going from one part to the other? And so, the most important thing I can say is that we want to help all people be as independent as possible. And so that's what the Aging Eyes program really is. I'm going to flip over to, okay, I can't, here we go. And we don't have Lauren yet, do we, Amy?
No, I do not see Lauren yet.
Okay, so
But
we're going to talk.
One
Go
thing
ahead.
I was going to ask you, Stacy, is just to refresh my memory, because I know I myself, I'm one of the community partners, and I know there's some others on the webinar here that have went through the training as well. Excuse me. But just refresh our memory. What are the age limits to be able to receive some of those things, and
So we're
income?
kind of no income. It doesn't matter how wealthy or not you are. It has no relevance to us at all. For the age, we're a little bit different in that we have 2 units. We have the senior unit, and that typically is 55 and older for people who are non-working. And so the non-working part is really the key of the age. If we have someone who's 45, not able to work, then we will take them into the senior unit. If they're 65 and still want to work or are in a job, and then they'll go into another unit called the workforce unit. And so either way, if you have someone with low vision, we will help you connect to the right people. But always free. Nobody pays for anything. And so, with the current financial situation, unfortunately, a lot of seniors are going back to work. Maybe not by choice, but what they have to do. And so if they need some workforce skills, then they can also still go into the workforce unit besides the senior unit. We're going to provide things to just kind of help them be independent in their environment, whether it's assisted living or a nursing home or their house. But the workforce center is going to really concentrate on job-based skills, if that kind of answers your question.
So basically,
and with that,
it sounds like almost all ages. It just depends on
all ages, even children. We have a pre-ups or transitional program for children as they start to transition out of high school. The schools provide it as of now. They can be in the school system until they're 22 years old, but then they start to do transition programming to get some additional blind and visually impaired skills. And so we have that program as well. So throughout the state, we'll cover you one way or the other, depending on, what your needs are and where you fit in. Oh, I just bumped that. Sorry. Okay. And so the other thing is really right now with technology, and there's Lauren. Unmute.
So sorry. Thank you all for being really patient with me. I was doing interviews for an open position, and it, naturally it had to happen in any way. So thank you so much for being patient. I mean, wow, I just really appreciate that. So, okay, so catch me up to speed.
Aging Eyes is done.
Aging Eyes is done. Fantastic. Okay. So do we want to, I'll share my screen. Okay. Let's do this. So can you see my screen? Can you see my PowerPoint? Or
Yes.
Can you just see my son? How's that? Better?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So just to if you don't know me, which I recognize some of the, oops, so sorry. Some of the people on here, I recognize their names. So my name is Lauren Eliason. I am a blind rehabilitation specialist with State Services for the Blind in our Senior Services Unit. I am based in Fergus Falls. So sorry. I cover, I think it's a 12 county area in West Central Minnesota. So I go from Moorhead to Morris, Benson area, Wheaton to Wadena, and literally everywhere in between. I think I've been to every gas station and on every road in that whole area. And so, you know, primarily we serve individuals 55 and older. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to go through some common eye conditions that we see a lot of our individuals have. So the most common,
Lauren,
yeah,
can I interrupt for just a minute?
you absolutely can.
Your notes are showing, so then your screen is kind of
word.
small.
Yes. Oh my gosh, let me fix that.
Perfect,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes. Okay, let me reshare it. Let me see what I can do here. I'm not fantastic with technology, which, okay. Oh, share now. Okay, can you see my notes still?
So hit hide notes from presentation. It's
What
that,
is that?
it's this
This one?
dotted line. Oh, yep, you had it right there. No, go one more to the left.
This one?
There you go. Yep.
Did that work?
Nope, now we lost your screen. There we go. I don't know.
How's that? No?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that better?
Is that better, Amy?
Yes, because then we can see your screen better. So yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay. You know, I mean, whatever, we're just going with it. Okay, so our main vision condition that we have is macular degeneration. It affects about 80 to like 85% of the people that we see. And that is where the individual loses the center part of their vision. Macular degeneration affects about 11 million people in the United States. And it generally affects people over the age of 70. It destroys the macula, which is part of the eye that provides sharp and central vision. So sometimes when people have macular degeneration, they'll say, well, it's really hard for me to read the newspaper, but I can see a robin across my yard. And it's because their sharp vision is and near vision is very affected. So there's actually two different types of macular degeneration. There's the dry, which is where there isn't any active bleeding or leaking of the blood vessels. And then there's also wet, which is where there is the bleeding and the leaking and stuff. And that the wet is more, I usually use the word volatile because it's like your vision can change like really quickly when you have wet macular. And usually people are either getting shots, they used to get laser, but then they really found that the laser affected they got scar tissue. So they're kind of going away from the laser and now they do shots. People can go every 4 weeks, 6, 8, 12. So it kind of just depends on the individual. And an individual will never go completely blind because of macular degeneration. They will always have their peripheral vision. So they'll, and a lot of the times I have seen that people's peripheral vision is actually pretty good, like 20/20 or 20/40 is, my experience. And, early detection is key. Like when somebody when a eye doctor will say, oh, you have macular degeneration, a lot of the time there isn't a lot to do until there is. So some, like, I have an aunt who, she'll be 94 in May, or 95, and she's had macular degeneration, wet macular, for like 30 years. So it's a progressive condition, but sometimes it can be pretty slow. The next condition is glaucoma, which is actually sort of the opposite of macular degeneration. So you actually lose your peripheral vision, and then especially closest to your nose, and then that can lead to blindness. So if your glaucoma is not regulated, either with frequent or consistent eye checkups, or with drops to help with the pressure in your eye, you can go totally blind. You can. About 3 million Americans have glaucoma. Many people don't know that they have it. So that's why going to the eye doctor is very important. I will get on my soapbox about that for sure. And glaucoma is caused by damaging of the optic nerve in the back of your eye. And so, there's different types of glaucoma. There's many different types, but the most common is open angle glaucoma. And so usually people will get eye drops, laser treatments, or surgery if they have glaucoma, and it's, they need some extra support with that. Next, most common is cataracts. That's just the clouding of the eye's lens. It's the leading cause of vision loss in the US and the leading cause of blindness in the world. And then often they can be just removed with a simple procedure. And it's an estimated that 20.5 million Americans aged 40 and above have a cataract in one or both eyes. They as in the eye doctors usually wait now until cataracts get quote unquote ripe, which is a horrible term, but they use that term. And so why they do that is because if they take your cataract too soon, your vision can then you essentially would get like a cataract back, and would come back and whatever. So now they wait a lot longer. The next and final most common is diabetic retinopathy. It is a common complication of diabetes, and it usually affects both of your eyes. Your vision looks like Swiss cheese, so it's very much like that picture on the slide. There are 4 stages. Usually, when we get somebody with diabetic retinopathy, they're usually in the severe or the most advanced stage. And so the diabetic retinopathy affects the blood vessels in the retina, and it's the leading cause of blindness among the US for working aged adults, about 4.1 million Americans. And usually your vision doesn't get affected by DR until you're in like the severe or the most advanced stage. And it can also lead to other eye conditions such as macular edema, neurovascular glaucoma, and retinal detachment. So usually when we get a referral, more often than not, people do have some type of retina detachment with it. And then also treatments just include injections, laser, or surgery. So just a couple of things, just in general about vision loss is legal blindness. So that's 20/200 or worse. And so what that means, if you aren't familiar, is what somebody with 20/20 vision can see at 200 feet away. So like, let's say you're looking at something and you're 200 feet away. That's what you would see when you're at 20/20. But then if somebody with 20/200 vision, that's what they see at 20 feet. So your vision can get, you know, so legal blindness, you obviously can't drive. Sometimes you'll have a very limited license. Vision impairment is less than 20/40, but greater than 20/200. So that's when you get into like maybe glasses aren't helpful anymore. Like they can't just make them stronger. They need magnifiers more often. They maybe have a limited license if they're still driving. And one thing to note about SSB is we cannot take people's driver's licenses away. That is up to the eye doctor and also family, and or you know the individual too, not just up to family. But so that's really important to note too. Regular eye exams are extremely important because of early detection. And then just the impacts of vision loss that we see a lot among our older adults, especially people that have been very independent, is that there's denial, depression, anxiety, loss of independence, and especially anger. Like people are really mad that they've lost their vision, or they can't do the things that they used to be able to do. And so at SSB, and especially with our unit, we offer a lot of support of just like, yeah, that really stinks that you lost your vision, and I am so sorry. But one thing that I do tell people is that it is so common, and vision loss is not readily talked about ever. You know, like some people will be like, oh yeah, I can't read the newspaper. And then, you know, people will be like, oh, well, that's just mom, you know, she can't read stuff anymore. And, you know, it's important to let people know that they aren't alone. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about the eye conditions thus far? If not, that's okay.
I have a question, Lauren.
Yes.
Retinal detachment. I've heard that's very, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
How does somebody know if that's happening to them?
So usually when that happens, your vision has changed very suddenly. Like some people will go to bed and their vision will be fine. They'll wake up in the morning and they maybe don't have vision in their one eye. Or sometimes people will have like pain, or like there's, you know, they'll see like black spots in their vision and everything. And so that's when you have to just go to the eye doctor and, you know, or go to the ER or whatever. And they'll, you know, some people will have it like reattached. Sometimes it can detach again. You know, so that is also very common to have that happen. So any other questions?
And I should mention too, feel free to put questions in the chat and I can read those off to Lauren as well, or feel free to unmute and ask the question.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to just state services for the blind in general. So our mission is to facilitate the achievement of vocational and personal independence by Minnesotans who are blind, visually impaired, or deafblind. We have 5 different units. So our workforce development unit, which is our vocational rehab unit. So that's for individuals who are in school or they, you know, are working and maybe they had something happen to their vision and now they need some accessibility things. Those WDU is for individuals 14 and over and who are, you know, needing training, technology, or job search and placement assistance. Then it is our senior services unit, which I'll get into a little bit, I think, in the next slide. And then our business enterprise program, which is a profitable vending machine business that is for qualified licensed legally blind Minnesotans, it's actually really cool. So a lot of the vending machines that you see, like especially in state, I'm doing this because I'm in the college in Fergus. BEP does the vending machines usually. So like at the VAs, they do that. Like the main headquarters at DHS, DEED, you know, things like that. So that's us. Also, we do our communication center, which is so awesome. We provide books, newspapers, magazines, and other printed materials in Braille, e-text, or audio formats for individuals who are, you know, blind, visually impaired, deafblind, or print impaired. So maybe somebody just can't read print, like their vision is perfectly fine, but maybe they have, you know, like maybe they have 20/20 vision, but they're seeing double, and or you know, they have a traumatic brain injury, and so like reading print is not able, they aren't able to do that. I served a gentleman who had a stroke, and his vision was perfectly fine. It was 20/20, I think, or 20/40, and he could listen to what he was, you know, like if someone was reading something, he could comprehend it. But if he had to read that exact same thing, how he described it is it was like in a different language. So because of his stroke, so that is where they would be print impaired, for example. And then, so this also includes our talking books and our radio talking book, which is the free news and information services that broadcast 24/7, 365 to listeners in Minnesota and the nation. We used to have the physical radios, and those went away, I believe, in January of 2020, I think, or it was, yeah, I think it was. And now we're just doing Alexas or Google Homes, or we have it on computers. And we did that because we found that in northern Minnesota, the radios were not the best at picking up signals, and depending on where somebody lived, it was very spotty. And so now we just have Alexa and Google Home skills and stuff, and so we can help people navigate that if possible, or if needed. And then Braille, we, you know, that's just converting printed materials to Braille for students and adults, businesses, and organizations. And then audio is we have trained volunteers who record textbooks, business, training, vocational, and leisure materials. And then we also provide accessibility review and test of documents and systems. And then we can do consulting and training with employers around reasonable accommodations. Any questions about that?
There is one question in the chat, and it's, where do we find the local Fergus Falls SSB office? And it says location and or phone number.
Yeah, so I'm actually here in Fergus at M-State at the college. And then the next slide at the end, it does have my email and Stacy's email and phone number, but I'll put it in the chat too. And just because if I don't do it right now, I will forget. So we used to be located downtown in Fergus, and now we are located at the college. I have this big, beautiful office, and I love it. Okay, so talking about our senior services unit, which is the unit Stacy and I are in, and in my opinion, the best unit. And so our main goal is to keep individuals safe and independent as possible despite their vision loss. So let's say somebody says, I want to be able to continue to cook. Well, some people get really freaked out about like having to cook, you know, raw meat. Like, how do you know that it's cooked all the way through, and, you know, things like that. So that's what we work on. just an example. We primarily serve individuals 55 and older. There have been a couple of, cases here and there where we are with people that are under 55, if like they can't go over to our workforce development unit or they can't be served with vocational rehab. On average, we serve between 3,000 to 4,000 individuals each year. For 2020 to 2021 fiscal year, we served a little over 3,200 individuals. And that is second in the nation behind California. Every state has an older blind program like ours, but it's usually like every other year, or at least since I've been here, since July of 2018, we've actually flip-flopped almost every other year with California. So that's pretty cool, because California's huge and, we're, in the dinky Midwest, but we love our seniors. So, and then our services include independent living skills. So that's what I talked about, like with cooking and cleaning and, how do you do the things that you want to be able to do? Like, let's say someone is taking a shower and they don't know the difference between their shampoo and conditioner. Maybe we put a rubber band around their shampoo, or, how do they navigate the world of their microwave? If you think about a microwave, it's totally one-dimensional. You can't feel the difference. So maybe it's just as easy as putting, I don't have them available right now, but a little bump dot. Oh, Stacy, I think is going to grab them. A little tactile bump dot for somebody. We can put them on the stove. We can, put it on somebody's mailbox if they live in an assisted living and they can't navigate their mailbox. And so those are the little bump dots, and we have them in different colors and different shapes and everything, and they're really great. We also provide assistive, just right there on her water glass. We also provide assistive technology. So that's like iPhones, Android, computers, tablets. I'm working with an individual who he was a working gentleman, and he had always kind of had vision problems, and he had a lot of support like while he was working, and then he retired, and up until like last fall he had quite a bit of usable vision, but he just needed some extra support. And then he had some things that happened where he lost a lot of his usable vision. He actually might lose physical eye, but then also his other eye maybe has like 5% vision in it. So now he needs extra support, like with using his phone, specifically VoiceOver, which is how he can navigate like his iPhone independently. And he lives alone, so that it's really important for him to continue to be independent in that way. We also provide low vision aids and devices. So think like magnifiers, better lighting. Maybe we have some talking, clocks. We have, if you've ever seen those big CCTVs, they resemble a computer, but it's a there's a camera at the base of it. Oh yeah, there's a big kitchen timer clock. And we have like CCTVs. Oh yeah, there's a big calendar. We have a CCTV, which has a big screen on it that it'll magnify things up that are onto the tray. We have those that are available on loan. We have a lot of different things that hopefully will make living easier for people with vision loss. And then also finally, we do have our orientation and mobility training. So that's like, how do people navigate when they need to use a white cane? We have that available, and we have other various things of training too. And also, in order for me, because Stacy, did you have to go through ATB?
Yes, I went through 8 weeks under the blindfold.
Okay, so.
But not orientation mobility on the road.
Oh, sure, yeah. So, so in order for Stacy and I to become counselors with SSB, we have to go to what's called adjustment to blindness training, or ATB. And usually it's about 6 to 8 weeks of living as somebody who is blind or visually impaired under sleep shades or under simulation goggles. And so for myself, I went to Blind Incorporated, and that's in Minneapolis. And I literally walked in, this is no joke. I walked in and they were like, here are your sleep shades, here's your cane, and navigate. And I had to basically be a student there. And I learned how to read and write Braille, use my cane. How do I navigate, you know, the lay of the land essentially, and learned how to use a computer non-visually, my phone. I can roast a chicken better blind than I can sighted. I found that out. And so that's actually written in state statute that we have to do that if you're going to become a counselor. And so that's basically what we do in like a nutshell. And then here's our contact information on the screen. And I see that there's a couple things in the chat, the website. Oh, you just put those dots on your dad's phone this weekend. That's great. The 911 digits. Yeah, fantastic. We love that. Does anyone else have any questions?
So what is the best way to get a hold of you, Lauren, if somebody is interested in bringing you in and having services set up, kind of going over all the services that are available? What's the best way to pull you in? Is it to call you, email you, come and visit you?
Either, any or all of the above. I always have my work phone, you know, during obviously working time. So I'm always available via email. Sometimes that can be easier to get a hold of me because I am on the road roughly 3 to 4 days a week. And so when I'm driving, obviously I can't be talking on the phone. But if I do get a referral, I can look at it and just say, hey, I got it. I'll deal with it, you know, tomorrow or whatever. You can do an online referral. We have that through our website that gets sent down to St. Paul, and then they dispatch it out to us. And let's see what else. Yeah, I mean, it's basically whatever somebody feels comfortable with, and how to refer. So yeah.
Any questions for Lauren or Stacy? And one thing to keep in mind too is Lauren can come right out to their home, which I think is fabulous, because we know sometimes it's difficult to get into offices, and then add into that somebody has low vision or blindness. Definitely.
Yeah, and I can and Stacy, I don't mean to like exclude you, but I like we can see people in any capacity. So like if they live on their own, or they live with family, assisted living, nursing home, group home, you know, we can. And I should also mention, the best part is that all of our services are completely free. So we don't ask income, assets, nothing, literally nothing. We are paid with taxpayer dollars. And so like I just told someone the other day, I was like, well, you basically already paid for it, so you might as well utilize the service. And so my assessments are, I try to keep them pretty short and sweet and to the point, because people's eyes kind of glaze over after about an hour, and then they're like, whoa, that's a lot of information. And so I can be as involved or not involved as somebody wants. So usually I'll go see somebody, And if I feel like they need that extra support, I'll continue to follow up. But usually I will follow up about a month to 6 weeks after I see them. I can see people we can see people multiple times. If someone's vision changes, we can go back out. If an eye doctor has a suggestion of what they think would be appropriate for this person to be independent, we can try our best to see if there's something that we can order, or we can have them try through STAR, which is like a place where there's some assistive devices and things. Yes, Carla asked, could you do a short presentation for a Lions Club some year? Absolutely. I would love to. When I do presentations, I bring, I have a bag that has like some assistive devices in it. And we like basically just go over it, and a lot of it is just a question and answer. But yes, I would love to just get in touch with any of us, and we'd love to do that. So, or if you know, like assisted livings that maybe need some speakers, we can absolutely do that. You know, I haven't done this, but I know a couple of my coworkers have actually gone into assisted livings and done some training for staff.
I've done that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like, you know, because what a lot of people don't realize with vision loss is, first of all, as someone who is sighted, it can be very difficult to understand what the other person who is experiencing vision loss, what they're experiencing, because you're like, well, your plate's in front of you, why can't you see it? You know, especially if they have like macular degeneration. And so we can teach staff, like, how do you use the clock method when you set their plate down? Like you say at 3 o'clock is your chicken breast, at 9 o'clock it's your green beans, and your water is at 2 o'clock. And so you just, you know, like that's an idea of what to do. I had one lady who was, she kept falling in the middle of the night because she didn't realize what time it was. And so she was going way out into her kitchen and trying to look at the time, and then she'd fall on the rug and all this stuff. So what we gave her was just a talking clock, and she hasn't fallen since giving her the talking clock, because, you know, you'd wake up and she was like, I don't know, is it 2 a.m. or 5 a.m.? Can I get up yet? And so she would just press the button and it would say, you know, it is 2:30. And she'd be like, okay, I get to go back to bed. So, you know, that's just a very simple thing that we can do. Some people need a lot of stuff. Other people don't need a lot to be independent. So we're kind of a best kept secret with the state. And, you know, and then people get to visit with Stacy and I and 10 other people, because we cover the whole state. So all 87 counties of us. So
I also work with activity directors. How do you adapt it when you have a client with low vision? You know, there's adaptive bingo cards, there's ways to play cards, there's a whole bunch of things. So activity directors can always call me. And we can work with that, because we want them included. And sometimes that's that calendar that you put in 9-point font so you can fit it all in. Mm-hmm. They are not really seeing that. So, and nobody wants to bother you. And so I'll say to someone, well, have you just had that conversation with your activity director? Oh, she is so busy.
Yeah.
I can't, I go, but she wants you to come. So should I have that conversation? Well, if you want. And so then I'll just say, is there any way you can just make it bigger and just hand it to her? And so now that woman comes to activities because she can actually know when they are. So again, it's a very easy thing to do, but something that if you're not familiar with people with vision loss, it's not something that's in your forefront to do.
Right. Yep. And what else was that? I was just going to say something while you were, I'll think of it. But yeah, so if you have any questions, you know, if you have a referral, feel free to just send it our way, because we'll, yeah.
Or if you want to be an Aging Eyes partner, you can just reach out to me. I do Zoom trainings. I have one coming up in May again. So it's a great way to get those continuing education hours for free.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to, this is what I was going to say. I've also talked with churches, because a lot of churches are going to, they have like the big TVs set up, you know, to like here's the hymn and here's the bulletin and stuff. Well, I mean, I understand they want it to make it look really beautiful, and maybe they use like a yellow background and like the text is white. Well, that's not really high contrast. And so I've talked with churches before, and a lot of them are like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know. I had no idea that that was even a thing. And so, you know, or large print hymnals, that's a thing that we have like different organizations, or we can figure something out for that too. So yeah, but if you have any questions, just let us know.
All right, any other questions for Stacy or Lauren? And keep in mind too that Stacy's talking about how she can do an online or a Zoom training for the Aging Eyes, but we're also, before people got on, we were kind of talking about maybe doing an in-person one in the Dancing Sky region. So stay tuned for that. Maybe this spring, later spring or summer, we could plan for something like that. Any other last minute questions? All right, well, just a reminder to watch our Dancing Sky website, because we partner with organizations all the time, like State Services for the Blind, to just provide information, connect with resources. So we want people to be informed. But thank you for attending. And like I said, this recording will be on our website. So if you have friends, neighbors, relatives, coworkers, whatever it might be that might benefit, by all means, please have them go on there and view it. All right, thank you.
Thanks for having us.